So they make a semicircle so there's room for the pedestrians and everything like that. But I don't want anyone getting run over by the traffic. So, to really try and imagine what this side of the road did look like back in 1888, we only have to look on the behind us and see that these original buildings were what stood back at that time. But unfortunately in 1972 they decided to knock down the lovely Victorian buildings and build a horrible monstrosity of a car park. So the thing I'm going to show you now, because it's a very special night, I'm going to show you a short video clip of the next place in question that was filmed in 1967 and stars everyone's favourite star of stage and screen and flat cap enthusiast, Mr. James Mason. Oh, there he is. Nice tweed jacket. I'll point out here, he absolutely scares the bejesus out of this poor woman who answers the door. Oh my God! Thanks, mate. Oh dear. And it's this corner right where James is standing now. It's where the next part of our story starts. Because, well, it doesn't start, it pretty much concludes there. But at 5:30 in the morning, on the 8th of September 1888, 48-year-old Annie Eliza Chapman has been scouring the streets, trying to find a customer. And she's been spending the whole day, she's had a pretty bad day at this as well, because she's already gone to a fight, already been kicked out of her DOS house because she hasn't got the money. But by 5:30, she's standing right at that point there, where the entrance to number 29 Hanbury Street was, and she's managed to find a customer. And she's elated about it. So much so, that when she's seen with her customer, she's also seen by a lady called Elizabeth Long, very much smiling with the man's hand on her face. The man apparently says to her, "Will ya?" She goes, "Yeah," before taking her through the front door of number 29 Hanbury Street. And that's how it looks in comparison to today. Now, the front door to number 29 Hanbury Street was never closed because there was always business, in whatever way you want to think of, always went through there. Now this, like I say, it was at 5:30 in the morning. Now at 5:40, a man who lived at number 27, a man called Albert Kadosh, was going through his back door to go to his toilet at the other side of the fence. Now as he's doing so, he hears someone shrilly crying no. And as he comes back from the toilet, he hears a large slam against the fence. But like I say, it's Whitechapel, he doesn't think too much of it. It's about 5:50, 5:55 maybe, that John Davis, who lives at number 29 Hanbury Street, goes into his own backyard, looks at the point where the arrow is pointed at, and comes across the most dreadful sight, that of poor Annie Chapman. Now, to describe what happened to poor Annie in the space of about 12 to 15 minutes, it's quite dreadful. Now, our killer has not only strangled her, but punched her in the face to, render her practically unconscious. He's then cut her throat from left to right and back again, severing both carotid arteries, severing the windpipe, but it's cut with such severity that when the doctors picked her body up to put her on the ambulance, her head nearly fell off. Her skirts have been pulled up and she's been ripped open from groin to sternum, and her intestines have been pulled out and placed over her right shoulder, the membrane covering her intestines over her left shoulder. Now Jack's decided to take a few mementos with him this time round. He's taken 3 rings off her wedding finger, but he's also taken away this woman's uterus, cut out with the precision of a surgeon. Now, an educated mind around that time would say that the person who killed Annie Chapman was probably doing to some aspect of a pathological hatred for women. So essentially, he takes away the symbolic reason that she's a woman, taking away the wedding rings, but then taking away the physical reason for her to be a woman, so taking away the uterus. But the lowly poor salts around Whitechapel didn't think this. They think it's another dead one of our girls on the street. He's cutting throats just like the Jewish butchers do. I bet it's the bloody Jews. I bet that leather apron's a Jew. So they go around a lot of the Jewish shops. A lot of the shops behind us were all run by Jewish proprietors and all had their windows smashed in. It was considered a little bit lucky on the 11th of September that PC William Thick of the Whitechapel Constabulary arrests Leather Apron, guy who actually turns out to be none other than just a slipper maker called John Pizer. And he's got cast iron alibis for every night. So he's scratched off the list. No identity for the man yet. But the poor are terrified. They don't want dead bodies littering the streets, especially their local women. They start building up these vigilante committees that the police have to also supervise because they don't want people getting lynched in the streets. And the girls, they're extra terrified. They don't want to go out at night unless there's at least 3 or 4 of them. So that's why some people assume that through a great portion of September, the Whitechapel murderer does not strike. But that's not to say we don't hear from him. Now in a second I'm going to take you down the very atmospheric and very picturesque Wilk Street, a street that has not changed in 270 years. But before I do, I'd like to give an ode to the people of Whitechapel because they never did forget Annie Chapman. And essentially the only plaque surviving of a Whitechapel murder victim has disappeared. Someone's pinched it. Oh, that's really blown the wind out my sails there. But there was a plaque there commemorating Annie Chapman, and that just goes to show now that there are still a bunch of thieving buggers in Whitechapel. keep your eyes on yourselves, guys, but don't worry, you're in safe hands with me. So let me just take you down Wilk Street, and we'll carry on.